Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Linda and I am a healer, a coach, and a facilitator. And in this channel, I bring you clarity about emotional intelligence, personal development, and practical spirituality concepts and how you can use them in your day-to-day to create a more meaningful, fulfilling, and joyful life. So the subject of today's video is the DNotS, or what is most commonly known as the dark night of the soul. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to describe a little bit of how I define a dark night of the soul, talk a little bit about why I'm talking about this now, and then maybe help give you a few tips on how you can maybe manage it in a way that makes it a little bit easier for you to go through this journey. So basically, the reason I'm going to start with explaining why I wanted to do this video now. And the reason for it is that a lot of people have been awakening in this year. I am recording this video towards the end of 2020, and this has been a year of mass awakening in the world. And actually, it started back in 2019, but I think 2020, it kicked into high gear. And that, of course, 2020 has been a very tumultuous year for almost everybody, not just individually, but also collectively and really at a global level. And as a result of that, a lot of people have awakened. And through this process of awakening, most of these people are finding themselves in a dark night of the soul. And you could argue that the dark night of the soul triggered the awakening, and it actually goes, they both go hand in hand, right? It's a cause and effect situation. One can cause the other, but really, for me, there's no way to separate them because they actually go together. The last time that I remember that there was such a mass awakening was back in 2012. And actually that was my awakening, and it was the official formal beginning of my journey. It had begun before that, but that's when it really kicked into high gear. And at that time, that was actually a pretty massive turn point energetically, because a lot of people, a really large group of us, awakened in that time frame during that year. And this is the next big, and actually I think this is a lot bigger than 2012. Now I don't know that for sure, but I do believe this feels a lot bigger than 2012. And most people who've actually have been through an awakening, right, and are on this healing or this spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it healing, personal development, spiritual, is all one and the same, basically. It really just is, whether we like to believe it or not. But most people that have been awakening this year have been doing it, have been really going through a dark night of the soul. Now, I'm not going to say everybody, but I do believe the majority of people that are going through an awakening right now are going through a very painful experience of the dark night of the soul. Now, I do want to clarify that not everybody, when they awaken, not everybody goes through a dark night of the soul. A lot of people can awaken and have awakened through very positive or neutral experiences. Some people have very ecstatic, joyful experiences of awakening. The majority of people that I know have not, but people do, because I've actually have heard those stories. So I do know they exist. It's kind of like the unicorn for me, because I've met very few people that have, and most of the people that I know personally, like deeply, actually awakened through a dark night of the soul or some form of very painful, dare I say, excruciatingly painful experience. That was a mouthful. Anyways, so how I would define, or more accurately, how I would describe a dark night of the soul is an experience that is so excruciatingly painful that your life can never be the same after. It is actually experienced by most of us who've gone through them, or as really an existential crisis, but not the kind where you get a red sports car. It's more like the kind where you're down on your knees begging God, the universe, source, and everybody and their mother to come and help you because you don't think you're gonna make it. That's what I would describe as the dark night of the soul. And I know that sounds pretty dramatic, and I do have a flair for the dramatic, but it is actually how I felt. And the people that know me, that experience, that saw me experiencing that, will tell you that in their own words, they didn't even know who I was. They couldn't even recognize me because it rocked me to my core. And that really is what dark night of the soul is and feels like. And that is what a dark night of the soul is intended to do, as a matter of fact, for better or worse, in my opinion, for the better. But I understand that if you're going through that right now, it doesn't actually feel that way. And it is also, when I say a period of time, dark night of the soul can last, from a few months to years for some people. And there's a few reasons for that, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in the video. But I don't know that I have words to express how profound and how excruciatingly painful a dark night of the soul experience is. It is something that really makes you question your entire existence. It makes you question your humanity. It makes you question the reason why you're here. It is painful, and like I said, it can last from a few months to years, depending on a variety of factors. So having said that, what I will say is, for me, for example, my dark night of the soul, and by the way, the one other thing that I want to mention is people can have many dark nights of the soul. It doesn't have to be just one. So far, most of the people that I've talked to, and in my personal experience, there may be one that is the biggest one, the one that created the most amount of shift. And for people, and that's usually the one who triggers the awakening for those of us who are on this journey. But as I now, several years after my dark night of the soul, my big dark night of the soul and my awakening, and several years of me being in this journey, I now look back and I can tell you that I had several others before, but they were smaller, and I wasn't at a place where I actually understood what they were. I actually had never even heard of that term at the time. And I actually have had a couple since, but there is the one that I can tell you that literally I define my life by before and after that, because that is literally what it does. It defines your life in a way that you basically find yourself at a crossroads, and it's like, do I continue forward or do I not? Because a lot of times it doesn't feel like you have any options, and you feel so alone and so desperate and so depressed and so exhausted and just beat up, and just, it really is a very, very painful experience. And I'm even getting emotional now as I say it, because I still remember, mine was almost a decade ago, and I still remember how painful it was. And it is something that if you don't have people around you who've experienced something similar or who even know about it, can feel very alone, because a lot of people don't understand what you're going through. And that's exactly how I felt. I didn't know who I was. I didn't understand what I was doing here. I didn't understand what to do next. I didn't understand what I did right or wrong that got me to that point. I didn't understand what was happening to me, or I couldn't even ask for help because I didn't know what was happening or what to ask for. In my experience, was triggered by a romantic disappointment, and I use disappointment because it was actually a lot more than that. But it's not someone that I was in a relationship with, but it's someone that I had an emotional, spiritual, and soulmate connection, and that person was my catalyst, because once it was evident that that relationship wasn't going to move forward, it caused so much pain and so much trauma for me, or more accurately, it triggered so much past trauma for me that it completely incapacitated me. And I'm a highly functional person. Like even when I'm going through pretty big things, I can still function in my day to day. I may not be as sharp or whatever, but I can still function pretty well. And I was just completely out of commission. I remember the day that I knew that it was completely over, I basically fell down to my knees on the floor and I was just crying hysterically. I couldn't tell you for how long. I know it was a long time, but I have no concept of time. I couldn't tell you for how long. And all I kept saying is like, I need help. I don't know what to do. I need help. I don't know what to do. I just kept saying that over and over. And somehow eventually I got up and got to my bed, and I stayed in bed for almost 3 days without food, without bathroom, without water, without anything. I just could not move. I would wake up, start crying, fall asleep crying, wake up, start crying, fall asleep crying, etc. And eventually I got out of bed, but that state, that feeling didn't go away for actually over a year. I think it was about a year and a half before I could get to some sense of normalcy. So it was actually a really, really painful experience for me. And I've actually heard from a lot of people through a group that I'm part of. And I can tell you that it can be a very, very painful experience for others. So it really is truly an existential crisis. Now, what I want to get to is, why do I say that I believe is for the better? It's because it is an opportunity. It gives you the impetus, it gives you the motivation, it gives you the strength to take those steps to really heal and reconnect with yourself. And it is an opportunity that your soul has been asking for, whether you're conscious of that or not. It is something that comes from your soul. And it opens you up in a way that gives you an opportunity to be who you truly are, to reconnect with yourself, to heal all of the wounds that have been holding you back from remembering the divine being that you truly are. Now, that all sounds good and well, and when you're going through that, you're like, F that, right? So I get that. So I don't wanna lose you here. I do get that, but it truly is a moment in time where your soul is saying, okay, you've been saying you want something different. You are capable of this. We are capable of this, right? Now you get to choose. So it was the moment where I made the choice of, I'm going to continue to live my life unconscious, right? Or I am going to choose this path to dive deep into my pain, into my traumas, into my wounds, so that I can know them, so that I can heal them, so that I can really reconnect and remember who I am as a soul. This divine being that came into this world, into this life, to experience joy and experience being human. That's really, and I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it's the truth. It genuinely is how I feel. And for those of you who are somewhat familiar with me, I actually was a co-author of a book that came out, oh geez, it's gonna be a year now, last year in February of 2019. And if you're interested, you can go on my website and look it up and even buy it from there. But it's a book where I was a co-author with about another, I think maybe about 15 other co-authors, where we talk about a variety of different spiritual subjects. And I actually talk about that moment for me, that experience for me, because it broke me open. It actually allowed me to really take inventory of my life. And I say this, and the caveat is, right, I didn't get there right away. It wasn't like I had that moment and I woke up the next morning, I was like, okay, what do I need to do, right? It doesn't really work that way. I was in excruciating pain, like I described before, for months. And you just get to a point where you're so tired of feeling so horrible, so tired of being in so much pain, so tired of feeling like crap all the time, of feeling this fear, this pain, this sense of nothing will ever get better, this lack of purpose, this lack of value, this lack of interest in life, really, that you get to a point where you're so tired of feeling that way that you make a choice. And the choice for me was, okay, what do I need to do? Clearly there's something here that I have to look at. What do I need to do? And what I will suggest is, for most of you, one of the things that I did, and I wasn't conscious of this at the time, this is not something that I did because I was smart or I was conscious about it, is I was just in such a place of despair and desperation and exhaustion, like I said, and depression and anxiety and fear and lack of self-love and lack of self-value and everything else you could imagine, that I got to a point where I actually just said, I don't know what to do here. I just need help. I just need a little bit of help. And I don't even know who I said that to. It's not like I said it to someone. I just said it to the ethers, I guess. And what you'll find is, and that's one of the things that I want to suggest as a first step for those of you who are going through that. What you'll find is that when you do that, when you really say that from your heart, things are going to come your way, resources, people, books that are going to be trying to help you. Those are signs. Once you align your energy and you say, you know what, this is horrible. I don't want to continue to feel that way, but I'm in this world and I want to try and heal. I want to try and feel better. I need some help. Once you put out there and you state your intent, the universe will come and deliver. So it is important then that you are open, that you keep your eyes open, your ears open, all of your senses open, so that you can receive the help the universe is sending your way. So I'm now basically going into all of the suggestions, and that was the first one. And the second suggestion that I want to make is to really allow yourself to feel your emotions. Don't try to resist it. For those of you who've maybe watched some other videos in the spiritual arena or personal development, you've probably heard the phrase, what you resist persists. The more you try to resist your emotions, the more they stay with you, the longer they stay there. And the more you try to ignore them, or deny them, or push them aside, or suppress them, or repress them, when they come back, because they will, trust me, they're gonna be even more intense. And the more you continue to do that, the more frequent and more intense those episodes would be. So what I would say, I understand that not everybody may want to do emotional work or emotional healing, but I genuinely believe that if you're experiencing a dark night of the soul, it is because you are ready, because your soul knows everything. And if your soul is calling you, is because you are ready and it's time. You're still have free will, right? You're still a choice. You can still choose, not to do it. But like I said before, the longer you wait, the more you try to resist it, the worse it's going to get. The next suggestion that I would like to make is to start finding someone that can help you. And that at this time, I would say it can just be, books, it could be videos. It's a great time to be awakening right now. It's a great time to be going through a dark night of the soul, because there's a lot of videos out there about it on YouTube. There's a lot of community in Facebook. And when I was going through this, that wasn't a thing. Right now, you have the benefit that there are communities created around this concept, around this experience, so you can actually help support each other. Now, I would also strongly suggest that you get support from someone. Now, that could be through a healer or a life coach like me, or someone else. Obviously, I'm not suggesting it has to be me, but someone who does the type of work that I do, like life coaching and healing. And or it could be a therapist. It could be, there's a lot of different people that can help you through this. If you're not ready or able to or can't afford, having someone individual, at least get into a community, find a Facebook group, find some form of like WhatsApp group or something where people are, you can share your experience with others that understand what you're going through, because it is not something that most people understand. Anybody who hasn't, it's very hard for those who have not gone through a dark night of the soul to understand what that feels like. And even within this community is also hard, because obviously we're all different, so we all have different experiences. Our dark night of the soul is triggered by a variety of different things, and we all experience things differently. We have different life experiences, different traumas, etc. But at least someone who can, there's people that can understand. And actually, as far as resources, I do want to mention, I do have a free ebook that you can download from my website. The link is going to be here in the description box for this video. I think it's actually the first link that you'll see, but I do have an ebook. There is a very short ebook that gives you some tips on how you can start doing this work. And it's for anybody that's going through heartbreak or, a dark night of the soul or any sort of major painful experience. It actually has about 2 to 3 steps that you can start doing, practical things that you can start doing to start getting through this process and start your healing journey. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is to please try your best to be patient and compassionate with yourself. And I say this, and I'm also getting emotional when I say this. One of the things I see the most is how hard people are on themselves while they're going through this or any other really excruciatingly painful experience. I don't know what my problem is with that word today, but excruciatingly painful experience. And it is that people, and I did this myself, but I see it a lot in others. And I just remember how painful it was to feel like you don't know what to do, and to feel so needy and so powerless, and so just all of these things that I already described, right? I see a lot of people saying, oh my God, it's been so many months, I should be over this by now. And, I made a mistake, or I don't know what to do. And, why am I feeling this way? And, all of this stuff, right? This is a massively painful experience. It is broad, it is huge, it is deep, it is profound, it is intense. It is all-consuming for a lot of people that go through this. And we're constantly beating ourselves up. So it's really important to try just a little bit to be compassionate as you can be, as kind as you can be, and as patient and you can be to and with yourself. And if you have to write a note to yourself to be kind and compassionate and patient with yourself and paste it to your bathroom mirror, then do that. Just do whatever you can to try and remember that you're going through a pretty painful experience, and that it is okay, and that it is a part of being human, and it is your soul calling you to remember the divine being that you are. So I will leave you with that. I hope that this video is helpful to you, and as always, until next time, namaste.